Late Kick Josh is where you find him on Twitter. 24/7 Sports is where you watch him. He's with us on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline. What's up, Josh Pate? How are you?
And good for me, by the way, for representing the brand via this strange green T-shirt I found on the floor 5 minutes ago. How are you guys doing?
Doing awesome. That is, I appreciate you supporting the brand.
Speaking of being appreciative, real quick, you were so kind to include us in one of your recent shows, and not just that you mentioned our platform, which we appreciate, but you also cleaned up my babbling on the sideline next to you in the fourth quarter and made it sound like that I said something smart to you. So thank you for that, because these guys know I spend 4 hours a day with them, that what you said on the air making me sound smart probably took me about 15 minutes to say.
Well, it was a challenge I was willing to accept, but the story I couldn't tell was you were standing next to me and some kid in the student section. Let me back up. So I'm walking under the bowels of Jordan-Hare Stadium about the second quarter, and you see a bunch of trash down there because it always falls through the cracks of the stands. But there was also a crutch, and I know good and well no crutch showed up there accidentally. Fast forward 2 hours later, Dunaway standing next to me on the sideline. This game has been decided for an hour plus. We're talking about fall foliage and whatever you can think of to pass the time. And some kids just yelling from the stands at a cop, I need my crutch. I need my crutch. So your boy crawls under those stands to get it, and Dunaway is standing there filming, waiting for me to walk around the corner with some kid's crutch. Unfortunately, I passed it off to the cops. So we really missed a golden content possibility on an otherwise very forgettable afternoon.
Yes.
You know, it was so interesting watching – Auburn play so bad in that second half, and then watching Oregon dismantle BYU and Bo Nix play at such a high level. Really, that was my game of focus, and that's the best I've seen Bo Nix play. I mean, he had one really good Iron Bowl, but I thought Bo Nix was really, really, really good. Almost an A-like quarterback, and now Auburn can't find a quarterback. I mean, it's just so ironic, Josh.
Well, it's the Malik Willis story. It's just a different staff, different era a little bit. Oregon, not to break down Oregon here, but even under Mario Cristobal, Oregon had a really sneaky, underrated receiver room that they don't feel like they ever capitalized on. So the whole storyline or subplot when Bo Nix went up there is, okay, this kid wasn't overrated out of high school, or either every staff that offered him must have whiffed. And people who watched him in high school know he can throw the ball. People who also watched him at Auburn understand may not have been the best position. Some on him, some not on him. But I don't think it was shocking, and I won't be shocked if he continues to have success up there. It is jarring, like you said, to see the juxtaposition 3,000 miles away of him doing that as you're turned around watching it on the big screen. Then you focus your gaze back on the field, and Auburn's got nothing on top of nothing on top of nothing at that same position.
Josh Pate is with us, 24/7 Sports at Late Kick Josh on Twitter. He's with us on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline because we love to do this on platforms like you work on and we work on, and on shows like this. I ask you this question: biggest game of the Josh Heupel coaching career Saturday, true or false?
Yeah, it is. And then we could say it again when they go to LSU.
Correct.
And we could say it again when Bama comes in there. There's this feeling anytime you're watching college football and on Monday you think you've got a good feel on a game. And then Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday, everyone else starts saying the same thing you're saying. Then all of a sudden, if you've watched this sport or if you've bet on this sport any length of time, you get worried because you know what tends to happen, like that Florida-Kentucky game. Everyone's on Florida. Kentucky wins outright. You just know. You've been taught cruel lessons throughout history. I don't want to be with everyone. Well, I can't find many souls out there that are willing to put their hard-earned money on Florida this week. And yet I'm in that camp. I'm in the Tennessee camp. I really struggle to find ways, given what we've seen from Anthony Richardson, given the fact that Ventrell Miller's out of this game, and given the fact that they're so shaky depth-wise, that they go in kneeling, knowing what all's on the line up there, knowing how massive a recruiting weekend it's going to be. And I would suggest to you guys, Tennessee already played their bad game. They just happened to win it at Pitt. They made every mistake imaginable and still won the game. So I think their clunker is behind them. I think their best football is still ahead of them. I don't even think they've run the ball as well as they can. I think they have tempo as a massive advantage relative to Florida's depth Saturday. I know there's a shot because the line's only 10.5 or 11. I struggle mightily to paint a scenario where Florida has that thing in the balance with 5 minutes to go.
Yeah, it's not a matter of how much Tennessee, it's not a matter of Tennessee wins. It's by how much Tennessee wins by. A lot of people agreeing with you, Josh. The other big SEC game, Arkansas and Texas A&M in Arlington. I thought Texas A&M offense looked better with Max Johnson at quarterback, and then Brown points out the stats, and the stats are less than impressive. But for some reason, I thought A&M looked better. Arkansas has been struggling to cover the pass. What gives in that Arkansas-Texas A&M game this weekend, you think?
Yeah, 20 degrees is warmer than 10 degrees. It's still not hot outside. That was A&M this past weekend. If you just looked at the naked box score, you didn't watch the game or anything, a lot of what plagued them against App State was still there on full display against Miami. Miami had 27 first downs, 5 yards per carry. They moved the ball. They couldn't do anything once they got in the red zone. That's a testament to A&M. My point is they still didn't crack 20 on the scoreboard, and they still had a lot of ineptitude, which brings me to what you just said. Arkansas secondary seems to be the team to get right against offensively. And Arkansas's got Bama next week, and Bama probably will take advantage of that. I don't know that they're facing an A&M team this week that's built to expose their flaw. But on the other side, if you're giving up 5 or more yards per carry, Arkansas absolutely is the team built to expose that part of your repertoire. Now, I think a little interesting side note here is as of the other night, this total was at 48.5, and I jumped all over the over. This one ended at 30 last year. And the teams were, I think, a combined 4 for 17 on third down. I think Arkansas's ability to run the ball a little bit better this year, and A&M's ability to do anything, just have a pulse in the passing game, could lead you to fly past that total. So I went with Arkansas to win the game. I think the matchups are more favorable for them, and that creates its own little mushroom cloud over College Station if they're already a 2-loss team. 2 weeks to go until that Alabama showdown. But if Arkansas wins that game, I think you guys understand the possibilities that are setting up for Alabama. You could have yourself going into Fayetteville against an undefeated Arkansas. If things stay right for Tennessee, you could have Bama against an undefeated Tennessee in Neyland in a few weeks. And that may make a certain network I work for regret picking the game they did as the primetime game, but that's not my decision to make.
Hey, so Josh, this doesn't always equate to a win, but if you look at the coach-quarterback combination in this game, Sam Pittman, KJ Jefferson versus Jimbo Fisher and Max Johnson, to me it's not even close. I think Pittman's the better coach. KJ Jefferson's a way better quarterback.
Yeah, but the thing about it is I don't know that Pittman will talk to KJ Jefferson 3 times the whole game. I think the guy that he brought in, and Kendall Briles, to be his coordinator, I've found it really interesting, Lance, that there's a lot of polarization, it seems to me, about Kendall Briles. Like, some people love the guy, some people, I don't want to say hate, but they think he's overrated. I don't know where the latter comes from necessarily. I think they've done a really good job up there, but this is the kind of game, where, unlike last week, where there were just athletic mismatches everywhere, and including the week prior and 2 weeks prior when they played South Carolina and Tennessee, this is the week where they'll face their equal or maybe even a superior talent roster on the A&M side. But there are matchup advantages to expose. Number one, on the ground. And number two, see, I'm a believer Arkansas can do more through the air, certainly than they did in this game last year, and certainly than they've done to this point this year. So if you want to achieve any kind of offensive balance, if you think that you are a percentage better in terms of total output than you have been so far, well, this is the time of year to start flexing that, because you don't just get to you can talk about it in preview magazine season. Once you're in week 4 or week 5, if you've got it, I should have seen it. And so this weekend it's kind of a referendum on a lot of things for both of those teams. And I'm not saying it's a must win, but I don't want to turn the game on and see 16-13 midway through the fourth quarter and come out of it saying, oh, Arkansas will still be something better than this offensively down the road. You're going to find out. If they are, you're going to find out this weekend.
More with Josh Pate of 24/7 Sports in 1 second. Alabama Power reminds you timely communication more important today than ever. They want you to know you've got options when it comes to reaching them beyond just phone or mail. Check outage alerts when you receive text or email notifications when you experience an outage. For more info, alabamapower.com/alerts. Josh Pate, 24/7 Sports, at Late Kick Josh with us on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline. Oregon State is a team a lot of people probably haven't watched. A lot of people won't watch them this weekend because they're on the Pac-12 network, but they're hosting USC, who has been impressive to everyone. This feels like a tough spot, though, for Lincoln Riley.
I had a guy walk up to me at the gym the day after they played Fresno. He said, "Bro, did you see that Oregon State-Fresno game?" And I said no, because I had just gotten home. He said, "Me neither, but I heard it was great." The guy didn't even watch the game.
It was, though.
It was a good game.
Yeah. That was the word on the Nashville streets the next day. So there are several of these interesting teams right now. Of course, the people are talking about Kansas, Duke being undefeated, but Oregon State is one of them. Arizona's got a loss, but Arizona, I think, has already surpassed their win total, which was 2.5. And so there are a lot of these good little underlying bubbly stories beneath the surface of college football. But I think a lot of folks looked at the schedule and they said, okay, well, whatever cute story Oregon State's got going on, that'll come to an end because we see USC on the schedule. And then the game week arrives and you see the line on the game and it's 6.5. And you say, wait a second, Oregon State, like, they're viewed as a legitimate contender, like a legitimate opposition here? Well, yes, they are. And it's also, I don't want people to forget this now, it's also like Iowa last year. Iowa kept having plus turnover games every week, and they kept winning every week. USC is that team. The difference is USC's got an offense. Iowa didn't last year. USC has been plus in the turnover battle, multiple pluses every week. So that's good for you. But history says eventually that luck runs out because it's very randomized. And if that luck were to run out this week, if Oregon State ends up being plus 2 turnovers, and they've got that home crowd, which will be fully engaged, new staff up there a couple of years in now, you could see one of those. I don't know. Is that game a day game or a night game?
No, it's not. 8:30.
8:30 on a Pac-12 network. Again, doesn't really matter. Nobody gets to watch it.
Right. So you will hear rumors around 11 o'clock of something emanating on the West Coast, and it could be an upset. I just find it interesting that from Washington to Oregon State, Washington State has a big one against Oregon this week. There's a lot reverberating, faintly, but it's reverberating from the Pacific Northwest, and it could just be good football. I know that sounds crazy, but it could be that some programs have silently gotten their act together out there.
I truly believe this will be the first time USC's played in front of 29,000 fans since 1919. I don't think they played in front of that small of a crowd because of the restructuring there in Corvallis of their stadium. Have you announced your Every Given Saturday tour destination yet? Is that a Thursday night thing? When do you make that announcement?
No, we made it Sunday. So this week was fairly simple for me. We're going to Florida, Tennessee.
Oh, yes.
But we have several conundrums ahead because the schedule is going to get very, very muddy. You know, we've got those Alabama games we just talked about.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Penn State, Michigan coming up. We got OU, Texas coming up. And all this stuff. Clemson plays NC State next week. And it's kind of just all overlapping. And no one sitting at that table there yet has given me access to their NetJets account. So I can't just be in 2 places at one time. It's very, very difficult for me. So I got some feelings to hurt over the next few weeks.
Hey, so if you do make it in for Texas A&M, Alabama, October 8th, we're going to be doing shows in Tuscaloosa, I think Thursday night and Friday. We'd love for you to join us.
What are the Thursday night shows like? I know what a Thursday afternoon and morning show is like.
Do you drink, Josh? That's what Thursday nights are like.
What does this look like? Absolutely.
Thursday nights get wild. Not as wild as our Saturday night post game.
Yes.
Yeah, but Thursday nights get a little wild. It's Bud Light game night.
I've got a Thursday night show. I heard a hot rumor that we'll actually be doing shows from Tuscaloosa that week too. Now that's just a rumor. I'm normally the last to know about that. But the high-level mustaches here have been talking about a road trip that week like we just did in Auburn. So stay tuned. We may be side by side.
High-level mustaches.
Love it.
I love that. Every Given Saturday tour, have you seen a close game yet? I mean, you didn't see one Saturday. You're not going to see one this Saturday, apparently.
Yeah, week 1 was good. Week 1 was Cincinnati and Arkansas. So, you know, that treated us well. Man, where in the world were we? Oh, Austin. We saw Bama, Texas.
Yeah, that was
a
heck of a close game. Yeah,
that's right.
It was the one that was supposed to be close last week that was the blowout.
Yep. And that was supposed to be a blowout in Austin. It wasn't.
It's very odd.
Right.
How that works. All right. Go follow him on Twitter At Late Kick Josh, at Late Kick Josh, 24/7 Sports is where you watch him. Josh Pate, thank you for the time. Always great talking with you.
Appreciate it, guys.
Josh with us on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline.